Good evening, we are from Ukraine. My name is Rule. You are watching the Ukraine on Fire project. Friends, norms and rules of YouTube and Facebook are very limiting to my work. And often artificial intelligence does not understand sarcasm. I can't explain to stubborn algorithms that the Russians themselves came up with the name people. And The Lord of the Rings is not a fantasy or fictional story. The Lord of the Rings is a documentary film for adults. This is not a social media conspiracy, this is force majeure. Neither we, nor the world, nor social networks were ready for such horror, such atrocities, and such a wave of hatred. And it just so happened that I was literally forbidden to call a spade a spade. The inhabitants of Mordor call themselves. I quote this gentleman and get banned. YouTube looks less scrupulous, and Facebook is already simply deleting videos without any notice. We are not talking about content monetization at all, because it scares the advertiser. Especially for algorithms, this is sarcasm. In fact, the most popular entertainment program in Ukraine is Good Night Arestovich, Gordon's interview with a tank without a turret, and the Buy 10 Black Bags, Collect 1 Occupier quiz. And only then comes the song Young Bayraktar. Dear advertisers, maybe you don't know, but now shampoos and washing powders in Ukraine are selling stories about how to shoot a Kalashnikov, dig a trench and tie up a prisoner. Not a prisoner on Pornhub, but a prisoner in the war. By the way, TikTok Spetsnaz of Ramzan Kadyrov captured a Ukrainian spy.
I admit I was captured last night. I admit that I fought against civilians.
In the best traditions of the Cold War, a Yandex map is laid out on the table. The scout himself looks like a bum on tramadol. This may be an Oscar-winning supporting role, but even in Hollywood movies, bloopers happen. In our case, the spy had a tattoo, a bat. And this is really a symbol of military intelligence, but Russian intelligence.
Об этом красноречиво свидетельствовала летучая мышь на теле шпиона. И это действительно символ военной разведки. Но военной разведки Российской Федерации.
For reference, Ukrainian intelligence took another totemic animal. This is a flying silver owl. And I don't know a single Ukrainian intelligence officer who would tattoo such an owl. That is why every Russian has a friend from the Ukrainian military intelligence. But not every Russian knows about it. In general, I have a positive attitude towards the efforts of Kadyrov screenwriters and directors. From mediocre commercials in the style of Traffic Light, First Blood, they are confidently moving towards such comedic masterpieces as Dumb and Dumber. I also really like this phrase.
More than 4,000 people. We were surrounded. Foreign troops. I don't know which country.
I understand that Russian intelligence officers do not always speak their native language well. Not to mention foreign languages. But this is already a place in the dialogue. I would replace it with the phrase, there were still 200, 300 shaggy barbarians from unknown lands, who in our language know only babies, bullfinches, fry, crucifixion, and bandera. In short, from stupid militants with shooting and monosyllabic phrases like Akhmat is great, Kadyrov's minions are rapidly moving towards full-fledged dialogues. This is great. If they return home, they can aim at shooting a Western. I can offer them a great opening scene.
The best example of looting we've seen. They tried for a long time to break the door and, finally, they succeeded. Reached their goal.
The guys from Mariupol, the Azov regiment and all the other heroic units that are now doing the impossible and keeping the city from being captured. Thank you for your comment. I am happy that you have moments when you can relax a little and gain at least some positive. We all know about your feat. All Ukraine is watching your unparalleled courage, which is recognized even by enemies. You are a true symbol of the invincibility of the Ukrainian nation. I believe that you will resist, that help will come, that each of you will be able to tell your story to your children, your grandchildren. I really believe in it. And now about the losses of the enemy. You see the report of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense on the total losses of the Russian army in Ukraine. As Peskov rightly noted, they are significant. So significant that you have to send the fallen in small batches. For example, this is what happens to servicemen of the 301st Airborne Regiment from Kostroma. In Ukraine, 100 servicemen of the regiment were cut out of reality, 29 of them were officers. The regiment commander was the first to arrive home in a coffin with an honorary escort of 6 colleagues with similar health problems. Delivery of another 10 people is scheduled for April. Then it is planned to reduce deliveries to 2 bodies per month. It's good that they did not guess to deliver the soldiers in parts. Like, here are Timofey's legs, we'll bring the torso by May. I'm sorry, but I've run out of humanism in the area of the city of Bucha. But I am still Mother Teresa against the backdrop of the Russian Ministry of Defense. Why do they do it? There is only one reason: the political leadership of the Russian Federation is afraid of a social explosion. It can occur due to the large number of zinc coffins and the lack of zinc coffins at the same time. Sounds paradoxical, but I'll explain. In the first case, the inhabitants of the Russian Federation may be horrified by the losses. In the second, the relatives of the missing will begin to ask questions: where is the promised 7 million rubles in compensation for those killed in the war? Thus, the military leadership has to find a balance. Great ranks can be buried with honors, but if we are talking about ordinary soldiers, they are either thrown into the forests or buried in unmarked mass graves. No body, no compensation. No social or economic explosion for you. However, the Russian authorities are exaggerating the problem, because soon for 7 million rubles it will be possible to buy only a candle in the church. However, orcs discuss this sensitive issue with their females.
Everything is great on TV. All who return receive veterans' benefits, plus payments for each day of the war. 3 for wounds. Putin spoke on the news.
3 million and pay for the funeral.
I do not need them. Not 3, but 5.
I didn't tell you yesterday that our company was shelled yesterday. Big losses. 1 leg was torn off, the other arm was torn off. In serious condition. Valiev is killed, 13 wounded, 5 dead. Avdiv died.
Валиев 200, 13 раненых, 5 трупов Авдеева, все, умер.
What? Also killed. And were you there?
I was in front, and the guys set up a tent. And the shell hit right in the tent.
It seemed to me alone that the girl with some unhealthy hope asked the question, were you there too? Even Comrade Aviv is already in a better world, and you are in no hurry. If even your arm was torn off for 3 million, it would be useful. Plus veterans' benefits. From positive. In connection with the news from the front and the fact that the Belarusian Postal Service began to require checks when sending stolen items, Russian soldiers and reservists became very sad. And suddenly they remembered that there are laws in Russia. And according to the law, reservists in peacetime are called up only for training camps and can easily refuse to participate in a special operation, because this is not a war and there is no martial law in the country. The same story with conscripts: if he wants, he goes; if he wants, he quits. Of course, common sense dictates choosing the second option. Thus, hidden mobilization can only count on the mythical Orthodox army, which will not pass the medical examination due to mental health. If I were the commanders, I would not trust them with a machine gun, even a toy one.
Zelensky, I am excommunicate you.
Anathema
Now a little announcement. In the description of the video and in the comments, I will now leave links to our bank details. They will help not only keep our project afloat, but part of this money will go to special projects for the Ukrainian army, which I will talk about in our next issues. I personally control them and personally participate in them. If you do not have the opportunity to help financially, then your views, shares, comments, and likes also help. And if you're on Facebook, then subscribe to YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, then subscribe to Facebook. We also started posting abstracts on TikTok. We keep in touch on Telegram. We are not so easily banned. As Mandelstam liked to say about Joseph Stalin, I quote him, and he exiles me. In the last program, I also promised to conduct an educational program on lend-lease. So, this is a special state program, according to which the United States supplied literally everything to its allies throughout the Second World War. From weapons and ammunition to food and medicine. It was assumed that everything was supplied on credit or on lease. The surviving equipment after the war could be paid for and kept, or return. Everything that was used up and destroyed by the enemy was deducted from the balance. From the USA, the USSR received thousands of tanks and aircraft. Details can be found on the internet. But I will give just one example. From 1941 to 1945, the USA transferred to the Soviet Union 433,000 cars and 34,000 motorcycles. At the same time, from the beginning of the war until the end of 1945, the USSR produced only 266,000 cars and 27,000 motorcycles. One of the most popular Soviet cars was the American Studebaker. 100,000 trucks were transferred to the Soviet Union. And they really pulled the USSR out of the Middle Ages with a massive use of horses into the 20th century. As a child, I read many war memoirs. It mentioned aid from the United States. But somehow funny. Like, the stew was sent, of course. Subsequently, it turned out that the help was incredible. Besides, since 1942 Britain has been sending everything for free. And after the victory, the United States simply wrote off part of the debt of the USSR. What gives lend-lease to Ukraine? Weapons, ammunition, dual-use products, fuel, medicines. Everything that can help Ukraine not only defend itself, but also win. There will be fewer bureaucratic delays. The speed of deliveries will increase significantly. All calculations after the victory of Ukraine. It's also a great PR. Lend-lease is a direct association with the fight against Nazi Germany. And this is a powerful blow to the propaganda machine of Vladimir Putin. All that remains for the Americans is to write, we can repeat, on the equipment. In American it sounds, make Ukraine great again. If Germany joins, it will be even more authentic. Putin kaput. In general, arms shipments from Germany would be level 99 trolling. That's all. You watch the program Ukraine on Fire. Russia will lose. Glory to Ukraine. I will now show you where the attack on Belarus was being prepared from.